My name is Grant Hughes, and the thing that I decided to talk about today is the book, The Lives of David Brainerd, The Making of an American Evangelical Icon, written by John A. Grigg. Um, this was very interesting to me, specifically the chapter of A Child of Two Worlds was very interesting to me because of he was just that. Brainerd was um, shaped by two very formative experiences. One of them being his well-respected family that was part of a political and social establishment. While he then that was when he was a child, but when he grew up and went to college, he became um, a radical challenger of that said establishment. Um, he grew up in a town that was religious, that had an established political, like I said earlier, political and social established city that he lived in. However, when he went to Yale, he was a huge um, proponent of the then very new Great Awakening, and that literally awoken something in him um, that changed not only his life but thousands of other people's lives. Um, One thing that I did find interesting is that none of this would have even like Griggs, for example, would not have been able to write any of this if it wasn't for a journal written by Brainerd called "The Life and Diary of David Brainerd" that was written by him, but edited by Jonathan Edwards. In it, it talks a lot about his life, a lot about how his mother died when he was 14, his father died when he was 9, and how after Yale he was a huge missionary. He worked in he worked with American Indians in 3 different colonies. Um, he was a preacher. He was well respected in his field. All these sorts of interesting tidbits that would not have been known if it wasn't for that specific diary. Um, Another thing that I found was a journal entitled David Brainerd and the 19th Century Missionary Movement. After Yale, after he was a part of this radical Great Awakening movement, um, he only lived 6 years after his time at Yale. He was kicked out of Yale because of his extremist beliefs. Yale was not exactly a religious school, um, and he after he was expelled from Yale, he found many different accepted evangelical outlets for his favor, according to this journal. He studied ministry. He received a license to preach, and in November of 1742, he accepted an appointment as a missionary of the society in Scotland for propagating Christian knowledge. So he had a very interesting life. He started as a um, very he was religious, but he was a one of the those religious people that is very common, where it's you're religious, but you're not radical. You stay in your tiny bubble, and that's okay. You just stay there, and you don't do anything about it. You know you're religious. You know where you're going when you die, but that's it. And then his time in Yale, he got into the Great Awakening, and that changed everything. And that changed the lives of a lot of different people because he went, like I said, he went to Scotland. He went to multiple different colonies. He went to Native American tribes preaching the gospel. And all of this because when he was growing up, when he was a kid, when he was a teenager, when he was a young adult, he lived these two separate lives that eventually came together and made the man that he is today. Or I guess that he was. He's passed away about over 200 years ago. But either way, David Brainerd is definitely a very interesting figure that I have never heard about until doing research on him. And so I thought this was very interesting, and I am happy to share with you. So thank you for listening, and I will post again when we have to. All right.